Hi, so in this video we will talk about neonatal hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia definition by WHO is blood glucose of less than 45 mg per dl, but this is for neonates. Okay, hypoglycemia can also be asymptomatic. So yeah, we have to remember this term, a value that is blood glucose less than 45 mg per dl. This is the cutoff value for neonatal hypoglycemia. Screening for the neonatal hypoglycemia, we have to do screening for the at-risk babies. Fine. So who are the at-risk babies? Low substrate or low glycogen. Preterm babies less than 35 weeks of gestation, low birth weight less than 2 kg, and intrauterine growth retardation. So these are the babies who have low glycogen in them. Fine. Who are they? Less than 35 weeks, less than 35 weeks, less than 2 kg, and with IUGR. Fine. Other one are with the relative hyperinsulinemia, that is in case seen in the case of large for gestational age babies and infant of diabetic mother and RH incompatibility. They have this RH incompatibility have transient insulin increase. Fine. So these babies have relative hyperinsulinemia. They have more insulin, so they are at more risk of having hypoglycemia, right? Now the third one are the sick babies. Neonatal sepsis, birth asphyxia, and hypothermia. Because of this, sick babies are at risk of neonatal hypoglycemia. Fine. Why? Because of neonatal sepsis, birth asphyxia, or hypothermia. Hypoglycemia is screened by dipstick measurement of the heel prick sample. Schedule of screening at risk babies are at 2, 6, 12, 24, 48, and 72 hours after the birth. This is this is for the screening. At these hours after the birth, we have to do the heel prick and test for the whether the baby is in hypoglycemia or not. Now the features of neonatal hypoglycemia are: first one, earliest is the jitteriness or the tremors. Second, other features are the lethargy, weak cry, and poor feeding pattern. It can present with seizures, and autonomic changes include the sudden changes in the heart rate, sudden pallor, or episodes of hypothermia, rare in a newborn compared to the child or adults. Okay, so how will we diagnose that the baby is having hypoglycemia? What are the features that the baby will show? First one is the jitteriness or the tremors, then lethargy and very weak cry or poor feeding pattern, and even seizures. And some changes in the heart rate and sudden pallor or episodes of hypothermia. Fine. Now coming to the difference between the jitteriness and seizures, there are three headings under which they are differentiated. First one is the stimulus. So jitteriness, they are stimulus sensitive, and seizures, they are not stimulus sensitive. Second one is the eye deviation is seen in seizures only, and the autonomic changes like the sudden change in the heart rate or respiratory pattern, autonomic changes are seen in seizures. Fine. Autonomic changes are not seen in jitteriness. So, how will we manage? Management depends on the symptomatic or the asymptomatic. Symptomatic hypoglycemia, first one we are going to see about the management of symptomatic. Fine. So, it is an emergency treated immediately with the IV bolus of 10% dextrose 2 ml per kg, followed by IV 10% dextrose infusion at 6 ml per kg per minute. 6 mg per kg per minute. Okay. So, initially we have to give the bolus of 2 ml per kg. Suppose if the baby is 2 kgs, then we have to give 4 ml bolus. Okay, yeah, and followed by IV dextrose infusion at 6 mg per kg per minute. Now, in case of asymptomatic hypoglycemia, which is detected while screening, if the blood glucose is less than 20 mg per dl, then again same we have to give IV dextrose infusion at 6 mg per kg per minute. But if the uh, blood glucose is 20 to 45, then we can start with the oral feeds. Feed once, recheck after 30 to 45 minutes. If normal, continue the breastfeeding every 2 hourly or as per the baby's requirements. And if still less than 45 mg per dl, start with the IV dextrose infusion. So less than 20, we have to start immediately. And if between 20 to 45 mg per dl is the blood sugar, then we have to feed the baby. And if even after feeding, after 30 minutes of feeding, if it is still less than 45 mg per dl, then we have to start the IV 10% dextrose infusion. Fine. So 45 we saw, right? This is the cutoff for neonatal hypoglycemia. Now the case of an infant of a diabetic mother. There is a Pedersen's hypothesis in which due to maternal hyperglycemia, sugar crosses the placenta. Fine. So there is hyperglycemia in fetus also, and this increases the secretion of insulin in fetus, leads to excess growth because insulin is an anabolic hormone, and this excess growth finally leads to macrosomia and lasts for gestational age baby. So, what are the complications of an infant of diabetic mother? First one is the delivery complication. Of course, baby is macrosomic, so they can be shoulder dystocias, brachial plexus injury like the Erb's palsy or the fracture of the clavicle. These are common because of large babies. Second one is the asymmetrical interventricular septal hypertrophy, form of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, which is a transient condition. Fine, it will be resolved later on its own. Increased demand of the oxygen, increase RBC production, so there will be polycythemia and predisposition to the thromboembolic manifestation, hypercoagulable state. So, because of large baby, there is increased demand, so increase RBC, so polycythemia, and this polycythemia makes the blood hypercoagulable, which predisposes to this thromboembolic events. And increased insulin interferes with the surfactant maturation. Oh, so this will lead to respiratory distress syndrome. We already read in the previous video about the respiratory distress, right? Because it was leading to transient tachypnea of newborn. Oh, sorry, no, respiratory distress syndrome only because of the surfactant problem. Also, increased insulin impairs the gut motility, so it leads to lazy left colon syndrome and can present with the delayed passage of meconium. So yeah, it's common in large babies or infant of the diabetic mother to have left lazy colon and pass the meconium a little delayed. Increased sugar in the fetus leads to congenital anomalies like most common system affected is the cardiovascular system. Most common heart defect is the ventricular septal defect. Most common group of anomalies is the neural tube defect, and most specific heart defect is the transposition of the great arteries, that is TGA. Overall, most specific anomaly is the caudal regression syndrome. Fine. An example is sacral agenesis. See here, the sacrum bone is absent. Okay. This is very important to remember because of this increased sugar. These things are happening. Most common system affected cardiovascular system. So again, the cardiovascular system, most common heart defect is the VSD. Most common group of anomalies is the neural tube defects. Most specific heart defect, we saw, right? The most common heart defect is this, but the most specific one which is associated with increased sugar is the TGA, and overall most common anomaly is the caudal regression syndrome, like the sacral agenesis. Single most common anomaly in an infant born to the diabetic mother is VSD, right? We saw most common one was VSD, but most specific one was TGA. After birth of the baby, there will be hypoglycemia, hypocalcemia, and hypomagnesemia. Most common metabolic abnormality associated with the seizure in a baby born to diabetic mother is the hypoglycemic hypocalcemia. So, if seizure is occurring in a baby born to diabetic mother, why is it most common cause? Why seizure is occurring is hypoglycemia is more common than the hypocalcemia. Okay, so this was all about this chapter, neonatal hypoglycemia. Thank you.